everybody, this is DM Mike, and this is the next campaign diary for Rise of Tiamat. I think campaign diary number 5. So far, I've caught up, and I'm feeling much better about myself. Anyway, we just wrapped up last Friday, and we've finished up the dungeon crawl portion of Chapter 2. If you watched the last campaign diary, I've changed up a lot of things, created my own maps because of just personal choice and preference and opinion. One of the things a little more detailed. I'll show you some shots here of the different isometric maps I'm using. Here's the full scale map, all the fog of war removed so you can see it all. This is basically what I laid out for my players. This is what they went through. And as you can see, it's very, very different from the actual in-book map. But again, wanted something a little more detailed and not so bland and empty that was from the maps that were provided in the book. So just personal choice. Anyway, we left off in a pretty precarious situation. We had players who really could have died. They did not die, but they could have died. And I think that really kind of overshadowed the very beginning portions of the campaign when we sat down and played last Friday night. I think a lot of people were upset, not in a bad way, but like upset's not the right word. I think worried a little bit, like not sure, okay, can we pull this through? And this is, what happened last Friday is what happened, I think, in every campaign at some point, usually pretty early on, and I think for us it was pretty early on, Chapter 2 really, is synergy. And I think synergy happened that night at the table where the players all begin to kind of connect and they start using strategy and things kind of work out for the better, and they wiped the floor with the orcs. Now, I went down swinging and fighting, I'll tell you that much. There was a lot of, iffy moments in there. I was rolling 20 after 20 after 20 for a while there, but of course the cleric always negates that stuff, so I never get to have that victory anymore. But this time I went in, I did not change anything, I did not change my tactics, I did not pull punches. I thought maybe I could pull back a little bit because maybe I've done too much. I said, no, we're going to go through with this. And so it was a brutal contact, a brutal combat. I guess contact would still work, right? But brutal combat there. And they managed to eventually wipe out the rest of the orcs. And so they looted the orcs, got some different items off them, some potions of frost and cold resistance, some healing potions that they had, meat and venison, different things. They didn't have a lot of gold or anything like that because this is not, the orcs weren't sitting around a rich population in which to get all that kind of merchandise and items and loot. But they did the best they could. And they continued on wandering around the kind of makeshift map that I made. And we had a lot of fun with this. Dungeon crawls, I think, are hit or miss. I had a lot of fun with this one. They eventually met up with just 1 or 2 more orcs that were remaining inside the lair that didn't hear the skirmish because they're like 200, 300, 400 feet away and a lot of twists and turns there. They can't see everything. So they ended up taking them on. But it was the second orc. The second orc, or actually the last orc in the entire lair that they didn't surprise. He saw them as they were approaching. And he yelled out, and that alerted the 2 remaining ice trolls that were still way back at the entrance of the cavern, just cooking and eating, and just kind of, they sent one of their buddies out there to see what was going on, but come on, their intelligence is like, they were too busy doing their own thing. The characters actually did get a set of keys off the orc chief, and they went around, they found one particular door there, and they looked through the cracks there, they could see the ice trolls, so they quietly locked that door just in case they were going to follow them. There was some debate there whether or not they want to just go in there, barge in, kill them, and get them done. But they had just gone through the orc combat. They weren't too sure, so they left them there, locked it, and went on. And that's when they found that other orc. And of course, the orc screamed, and now they could hear way behind them the door being pounded on because suddenly it was locked. And of course, the trolls finally put that together. Something's not right here, and started to break through. Now, before they even caught up to them, the characters finally find Maketh. Here's a quick image of that. This is the room that I created, the isometric map. And this is actually where about 45 minutes, close to an hour of game time happened. That was role play. We had such heavy combat at the beginning, but this was actually one of the funnest parts of the adventure for me, was this role play moment, because they came to Maketh, someone who finally had information about dragons and the cult and the horn, and even items and lore and different things. So we spent a lot of time in there, and actually was really, really engaging, and I had a good time with that. It was, I think, really good role-playing for everybody around, and I enjoyed being Maketh. But eventually those ice trolls did catch up to them, and at that point the characters were incredibly separated. We had 2 standing at the door guard, 3 other people over there trying to talk to Maketh and convince her they were there to rescue her. Well, when the combat started, we have people who were way over there, had to get over there to help with the combat. It wasn't that big of a deal. They did get there. But what was great in that combat was our Storm, our Frost Giant, or Goliath, was just kicking ass. He just kicked ass. It was one of those moments where the dice tell the story, not the DM. And he rolled like 3 or 4 20s in a row in his entire turn and just wiped the floor with these ice trolls. And it was great stuff. He made one kind of rude comment to one of the ice trolls right before the next 20 was hit. Something about, you hit like a halfling or something to that effect. And just wiped the floor with these ice trolls. It was so strange and kind of comical because before they were getting their butts kicked in the kitchen with all those orcs and another ice troll that eventually had caught up with them. And then suddenly, in a matter of maybe 3.5 minutes, they wiped the floor with 2 ice trolls. It just goes to show you the dice have a different story to tell than the DM and the players sometimes. But anyway, they get a hold of Maketh. Maketh gives them a bunch of lore and things that are going on. But she also says, look, I've got these spell books, as you know in the book, from the Arcane Brotherhood that are important. We need to take these back. They could be advantageous to us. So they descend into the second layer of the dragon. Now again, I created this, made it up in my isometric maps, and this is deep down in the layer. And I had some music set up from this, some of it coming from Dante's Inferno, others bits of it coming from a kind of an ambient soundtrack that I have, a Book of Black Earth, I think is what it's called. I'll put it up here. I'll put a little image up there for everybody. But a lot of good here. Look, as a DM, tone. This is really important. The atmosphere of those layers needs to be different, needs to be deep and evil and unsettling. And I tried to capture that with this. So they went down there. There's no enemies anywhere, just black, dark, icy water, lightning kind of ricocheting off the top of the glacier into the water in spots, a lot of heavy mist. And they finally go to one section of the map, ransack that area, get the books they need, and then go to the other section. I thought they would split the group. They didn't. They all kind of went together. I was kind of hoping for a split, but they didn't do it. And when they got to the second area, they found the books they needed, and then I sprung it on them. The Marrow rose from the depths of the icy water with their enchanted tridents and attacked them pretty much like this. I love this moment in Kroll. I love these kind of lances that are firing out. And that's what I wanted to do there. I kind of wanted to have another one of those just weird kind of fun moments where the Marrow, or I guess the heroes, are being attacked by just some weird ancient weaponry that they've never seen before. And so I played some Kroll music too, right as they were kind of emerging from the lake, timed and everything to the music as I narrated. And of course it goes against the rules. I wasn't rolling anything and they were basically surprised anyway. But that's the difference. You can roll a die and just mechanically go through things, or you can negate all that and just do something of with more dramatic, more movie-esque kind of quality to it. And I prefer the movie-esque, the kind of the cinematic feel to a surprise or to whatever the situation is, than trying to do things so mechanical. Just a thing to put out there, a little soapbox thing. But we had a great time. The Marrow destroyed that area. They were going after them. But this is when the cleverest move of the entire night happened. They were outnumbered 10 to 5. 10 Marrow, 5 heroes. Maketh making it 6. And there was a precarious situation like, what the heck do we do? The exit's way over here. There's all these Marrow. They're firing these weird energy weapons at us, all at range. What are we going to do? Well, after quick debate, the thief came up with a great idea, fabulous idea that just kind of really saved everybody's bacon, is that he cast darkness into a little pouch, closed the pouch, right? So darkness goes away, right? So everybody can be seen. Well, they all kind of grabbed onto each other. He opens the pouch. They're all shrouded in darkness, and they all dashed at the same time, each turn, to get to the exit, while the Marrow were trying their best to hit them at long range with their enchanted tridents. It was round after round after round of this, and because all the heroes decided to dash each and every turn, every round, they had nothing. They had nothing to give. They had no turns to take. They just were all dashing. So every round, I had the Marrow firing into this dark patch at disadvantage through probably 4 or 5 rounds. So they finally got out of there. It was pretty amazing. It was an interesting thing that happened at the table, and it kind of caught me off guard. And of course, the Marrow have pretty low intelligence, but they're trying their best to hit them. Now, of course, I got 10 Marrow, right? So I'm going to eventually hit somebody in this cloud. And the problem came, well, how do I know who I've hit? you all are huddled together, who am I hitting? That was the problem. So what we did was, we just kind of came up with it right there at the table. I would roll my dice at disadvantage, but if I hit high enough, if my lowest number was like a 15 or 16, I would check to see, okay, who has an AC of 15 at least? Well, that means I hit something, right? So I assigned each player a number, including Maketh. So player 1 was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maketh was 6. I'd roll a 6-sided die, and that's who I hit. And if I didn't break their AC, then nothing happened. If I did break their AC, they got hit. That's pretty much it. And so round after round after round. And eventually, because of just the amount of marrow, and they're each attacking twice, I did each round eventually hit somebody. But they got to the exit, and the marrow were very frustrated. But then suddenly, the cavern gets quiet. The marrow stop firing their weapons, and the characters are, just as they're getting ready to mount the stairs, stop suddenly because of just this unexpected twist. And a shadow overlooms them. They look up and they see a Rathator clinging to the top of the glacier, glaring down at them. And I had music set to this, perfect music, again from Dante's Inferno. And they looked up, and his eyes opened, and he saw who they were, and he detached from the ceiling and turned mid-air and slammed down into the water. And those players booked it out of there as fast as they could. They backtracked their way through the map and exited out of the lair. And that's where we ended it. And that was 7 hours of gameplay. And there's a lot of stuff that happened there, but those are the highlights. That's what we did. And of course, Arathator knows who they are, has seen them, knows a little bit of what's happened, and is pissed off. And now we have to finish off what's going to happen next. All right, guys, that's it. That's all I got for you. I'll see you in the next one.